Don't you do it. I don't care if she even makes that little cute pouty face that she makes. Don't invest any further in Amamiya Mireille, and I'll explain why in today's video. So today we're going to go over the SSR hunters in the game, and we'll talk about the best artifact sets, and I'll give you guys my tips and tricks on that. Now, quick note that there is some variance. I'll try to explain it the best I can, so make sure you're paying attention, of course, listening as well. And then on top of that, my hunters, they are kind of all over the place. They may or may not have the optimal stuff on. I've been in a transition period right now, moving some of the stuff around. We're not going to really cover cores in this video because that's a whole other layer, and there's a lot more nuance to that, if you will, than there is in artifacts. You're going to kind of find out as we go through this video that a lot of hunters kind of just use the same stuff. There's not a lot of variance, and so I'll break it down really quickly and easy for you. So with breakers, you're going to mostly use Burning Greed or Chaotic Desire, if that's the breaking one, right? For support characters, you're going to be using Chaotic Wish or Burning Blessing. Quite literally, there's not much more variance than that. But there is a little bit more nuance on like guild boss content where you can put on Sylph's Blessing or whatever it's called on the right side. That's mostly it. Like maybe Destroyer on the left side if you're trying to pull off something specific. Guardian on the left side if you're trying to pull off something specific, but you're just not really doing that in most content, like 99% of the game. So that being said, when it comes to the damage dealers, like a Hae-In, like a Hyun, like a Kunai Tawata, like a Thomas Andre, like a Charlotte, when it comes to your damage dealers, you will find out that there is more variation, right? So in content like a guild boss, Chaotic Infamy, as we've been looking at here for a little bit now, is the choice that I would make. And the reason why is because it has the extra damage versus team fight or in team fight content. Now, if the character is a character that does not have short cooldowns or something like that, which is not all that common, admittedly, then maybe you would skew more towards Burning Curse or a 4-piece curse, 4-piece Obsidian, something like that. But in that team fight content, I just think that you're mostly going to want to have Chaotic Infamy on. Now, where the variance arises is Burning Curse is still a thing. So where do you use 4-piece curse or 8-piece curse? Typically in longer content and typically on hunters that do not use the attack stat. It's like a Cha here. She doesn't use the attack stat at all. Thomas doesn't use it. That's where you would typically do that because you want to get the flat damage increase also. But aside from that, you're going to find out that a lot of hunters have their best set being 4-piece Obsidian on the right side with 4-piece of Desire or Curse, or even 2-piece Curse, 2-piece Infamy. I said Desire earlier, excuse me, but 4-piece Infamy with 4-piece Obsidian, or 2-piece Infamy, 2-piece Curse, and then 4-piece Obsidian on the right side. Now, the thing with Obsidian is it gives a fat bonus of 60% to damage when MP is 40% or higher. So the thing with that is that some people may wonder if that's like good on Cha, because all the new hunters coming out just kind of drain their MP like crazy. She kind of does that, but I didn't experience it to the degree where I thought that it was worth not putting this on her. I still thought this is the best right set for her in most content. So keep that in mind. And somebody would probably ask, can you do 4-piece Curse, 4-piece Infamy? Sure, you could go for that if you want to do that. But aside from that, I typically would just skew towards something like this on the screen right now. For Yu Hyun and for all other damage dealers in the game, quite literally everything I said about Cha extends here. The only difference is that for an attack scaler like Yu Hyun, you can use Expert on the right side if you wanted to do that. Kind of just depends on the length of the content you're taking on overall. Now for her, if I'm not doing Expert, I would use Obsidian. As you see, 4-piece Curse, 4-piece Obsidian. I thought this was really straightforward and really good for her. Overall, I had a lot of damage with this, and it was very valuable to me. Now, you could do 4 Infamy as well. You could test that out for the skill damage. Her skills do hit pretty hard once she really gets rolling, so that's another way to test that out as well. Now, Thomas is a little bit different because he's a defense-based damage-dealing scaler. There's only 3 in the game. Him, the new Cha, and then Charlotte. Now, Iron Will is deployed here on him. You may have noticed I didn't mention it with Cha. I didn't think that it was really worthwhile on Cha. You could use it and it'd be good on her. Like, it's not that it's bad or anything. I just thought that having characters like him or like a Charlotte, mainly a Charlotte to be honest, that are able to get their ultimates off more would be better. And so with that being the case, I think it's better on him and Charlotte than it is on Cha. However, Cha is obviously just the top DPS basically, so she's gonna be fine. Her and Kanai are just the top DPS. She's fine. So anyway, this is basically what I consider for him. If you're taking on longer content, then you can switch to Curse. That's mainly where I would kind of tie it. Infamy is interesting again on him, particularly because he resets the cooldown on the transformation, but I still would just use either this or Curse on the left side and call it a day with him. Now, moving over to our first support, and like I mentioned earlier, supports are typically going to use one of two sets. There is some variants where you can put something like that on and something like this on if you need it. That's why I kind of brought it up. It just kind of depends what you're trying to do. But that's super niche, I think, and it's largely restricted to one type of content or like certain team builds where you're shifting everybody's gear around a little bit. And the reason you do that is because some of these bonuses don't really stack when other characters have the same gear sets on too in some of the team fight content. So anyway, with her, Burning Blessing, I think, is the one to go for sure. And that's going to largely be the case for all of the support-based hunters. And Burning Blessing is a safer bet because more people will probably have this invested in because it's been around for so freaking long. Maybe you reforged some up to 100. But Wish is also, again, the next choice for her. And Wish is solid too. So keep that in mind. And that's just, I'm going to rapid fire through the supports because that's mostly going to be the case. It's not going to change with the support characters. It's just going to be those two sets and that's it. I'm not really seeing it here. Here's Wish. They're recommending Armed on her. Or it's one of the more recommended sets, I guess. Anyway, so Wish does boost these stats overall. When you use the ultimate skill or core attack, it increases the attack, defense, and HP by 15%. So as opposed to like just a flat damage dealt, it does an entirely different buff, which is not bad. Not bad at all. You get the stat gain instead. Anyway, so that's where that's also good, is when you've got both triggering on your team, like you've got two support characters. So DPS character, similar concept. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got 8 curse on her. That's largely because I haven't actually shifted her gear around because I haven't used her since the update. Now, the reason I told you not to invest any further in her is because she should be getting replaced as the wind DPS in the next update. Now, I haven't been keeping up with that as much, and so maybe that's not 100% accurate. It remains to be seen. But if that is the case and she is somebody that gets replaced, then unfortunately you don't need to invest in her any further than going forward. So the thing with that, though, the counter argument to that is that maybe you've already got her super invested in, got a bunch of dupes, and you can kind of just skip the next hunter. And that's the point where you could continue to further build her, unless there's just such a huge chasm between them where you just don't want to do that anymore going forward, investing in her. Then, you know, at that point, that's different. So for her, like I said, I haven't really changed this stuff around, but I actually like Expert on the right side. I actually like Expert a lot on the left side. And if I were shifting her around now, she's got so many more options. Champion Field, she's got Armed if you really want to. She's got a lot of options. You can do Champion on the right side if you want to do that. But I like Expert. But I also really like Warmonger. I forgot all about Warmonger. I wouldn't use Warmonger. It does work on the defense scalars too. For the record, it's one of the only ones that works on attack and defense scalars. I wouldn't use it on her, but I would actually consider using the Chaotic on her because of the fact that she does use her skills pretty reliably, and that's where all of her damage is. Like quite literally all of her damage. So, and the funny thing with this is even though you're not going to get the team fight bonus in every mode, I would actually still say this 8-piece is probably just her best set overall because it patches up a lot of her issues. She gets ultimate damage and basic skill damage, ding, 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 that's everything she wants. She doesn't want to take any extra damage because she already is a glass cannon. And then she regains MP when she uses her basic skill, which is humongous for her because she's the OG MP watcher that you need to have. So she really wants that. I think that may just be her best set overall, actually. I like Expert. Like I said, there's a few other things you can do, but I think that's where I would probably shift her if I were working on her now today. She actually jumped you. I'm pretty sure we talked about you already. Breaker. Again, extremely straightforward. You're going full 8-piece and calling it a day. Either Greed or Desire. Totally up to you. Whichever one you like more. Doesn't really matter a ton. Where Desire is strong It doesn't give you the crit bonus, but it does give you the elemental, right? So that's extremely strong also. So attacking enemies that are in elemental weakness do get that extra damage, increases the damage of the user's skill with the break effect, and the user and team members' elemental damage increases. So I actually think the crit bonus is more universal, and so like in content where you're not like fully against type advantage, that's where greed is a little bit better. But in content where you have type advantage and you're really leaning into that, which is pretty much most of the time for the record, I think this winds up being really strong, and getting the extra damage from this does matter a lot for your main DPS character. So in this case, that would be Kanai getting the extra 40%. While she's not getting the greed crit, the extra 40 is very valuable. So it just kind of depends, and you'd have to look at your team overall. Speaking of Kanai, she's one of the characters that has a little bit more variation. Another character I haven't fiddled with since the new update, but this was her best set, in my opinion, pre-update. Pre-update, I thought this was her best set. Now, as you see, the reason why we've got the two-piece is because she uses her ultimate. It's not really that she used the ultimate, she changes the other skill to the ultimate, but it does get the extra damage, so that's why the two-piece is there. And then you get the extra damage inflicted from the two-piece set here, that's fine. And then you're getting the expert bonus here. Similarly, you could do four-piece curse on the right side if you wanted to do that, although there's no bonus to getting 6 pieces, so I think you kind of need to go all in if you're going to do that. You could do four-piece infamy, four-piece obsidian, four-piece champion on the right side. With this new patch, would I change anything around on her? No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. I don't think I would change anything, really. You don't really need the 4-piece of one-hit kill either. Yeah, I don't think I would change anything. I think this is still just her best set overall. So that's what I would do. Moving on from her, Go, again, another breaker. So very straightforward. You're just doing one of the two. I actually think greed was really good on him. But similarly to when we talked about Isol, if you're taking on content where you are trying to get that elemental advantage, that's where that one's really strong. But I can't deny the fact that just getting a flat 15% to everybody's crit rate and damage is nice. 15 and 30. So keep that in mind too. For him, however, I actually think, he's a really good DPS. Him and Seren, who's next, are really good DPSs. I think you still need the full 8-piece of one of those two sets. However, I think with him specifically, while Amamiya really would like that, okay, so maybe the Leonard guy really appreciates that more than Amamiya does. I actually think greed is great on him because of the crit rate damage, all that stuff from him using his skills repeatedly. That's very strong. It's a shame he's a breaker, because he would make a really, like, he would be great, like, for the infamy set. Infamy 8-piece would be insane if he was just a main DPS. Like, he'd be ridiculous. So that's kind of where it's a shame, but he's still insane. Still a great character. I think tier 0 character, top 2 breaker in the game, maybe better than Seren, depends who you ask. But yeah, I do like greed on him overall. And again, the team fight bonus, or the elemental bonus, that can't go understated. It just depends what you're doing. Speaking of elemental, here's the next other breaker in the game. Seren, I was just talking about her, same exact situation. Great DPS character. And I have these on because I was testing it out in workshop. I actually think for her, because she is, man, them thighs, man, Jesus. I actually think for her, in all seriousness, I would like to put the other one on just so Cha can get that extra crit rate damage. But I think for her specifically, I think this is a better set, and largely because she is used in workshop and she's made for workshop for the water team. And I think with workshop and the blessings and all that stuff, you can make up crit efficiencies if you happen to have those through the blessing system. So I think this is her best set overall. Now, even outside of workshop, I think this is probably just still her best bet, because on the water team, again, you just want, you know what? The more I'm doing this video, I'm kind of finding it hard to say that Desire isn't just flat out better than Greed, because elemental damage is strong, but Greed does the crit. So that kind of makes up for it. That's the trade-off. They both have the same break rate, 30% extra. However, this one may be a bit stronger because elemental, right? Anyway, so that being said, yeah, Desire is really good. Like, it's really good. So again, your choice, dealer's choice. Support character, same deal. However, you do want to have crit hit damage on him as much as possible. on his artifacts so that you can get the extra bonus in team fight content from his ultimate, pushing that stat across. That's very important with him. There's some other stuff like that with Mei Lin or like Isol, where you want to make sure that these characters are either do or don't. Well, neither of them. You want to make sure that their teammates, in this case Cha or Kanai or Yu Su Hyun, you want to make sure they've got the highest attack or critical hit rate based on which character you're talking about. Those two girls' weapons. I haven't really talked about Noble Sacrifice or Outstanding Connection. I think we've mostly moved past those sets. I say, well, I've got this one here. That's something I was testing out. I think this is solid because she's got the HP focus. It's unfortunate that the 4-piece set, though, however, while it was good for Alicia, that's why this was on, that's why it's 55 too, it doesn't matter for Cha. So the 4-piece is useless. If you're going to use Noble, it would be the 2-piece. And you would go from there with something else, because the 4-piece is largely irrelevant. So 4-piece Sylphs is really good, though, on the right side. Again, like I was saying, typically in other content. But the 4-piece is really good here. Increases elemental weakness damage, and it stacks 3 times. That's, I would wonder if that would stack with the other one that you get from Serin in water. Like, actually, I may try that. That could be interesting. I don't know. I don't know if it would supersede the importance of having Burning Blessing or Chaotic Wish on. Anyway, for her, it's Burning Blessing or Chaotic Wish once again. And I'm curious about which one I think is better in this instance. Just a flat 20% damage I think is probably better. Can't find it. It's buried in there, but I think that's probably just better. But it's up to you. And you're not doing 4s, you're doing 8s. There's not really much point in doing 4s. Charlotte, literally everything I said for Thomas extends. Quite literally, go back and refer to Thomas. I promise you, refer to Thomas. It's quite literally the same thing. Speaking of the same thing, support character, same deal. It doesn't really matter a ton. It just see the other 5 supports. So for our boy here, he's the only character in the game that actually uses Berserker extremely well. It's really funny. Berserker's got such a weird condition, but you could argue that you might as well just use Outstanding, so you don't gotta dip below. And this is pre-Outstanding anyway. But that being said, he's the only guy that really benefited from this because he eats away at his own life. He gets stronger as he's lower on life, and it just makes the most sense. For him now, I haven't used him in quite a while. I wonder if it's still for Curse. You have a couple other options as well. You could just do Armed, you could do 2-piece Armed, you could do Champion of Field, you could do Solid Foundation used to be the recommendation pre-Burning Curse release. Once upon a time, this was the recommendation. Just because he spams the basic attack, and this is the only thing in here that like really boosts basic attack. You could do 2-piece here and then 2-piece Curse. You like actually could. The thing with Curse that's tricky is that you actually like the damage increase. Increase the user's damage belt by 20%. Damage increase, damage taken, excuse me, by 20%. You actually kind of like that. And the recovery effect, the rescue effect on Curse is also not bad for him either. If you happen to get too low, right? It can be a little bit counterproductive, but it's not that bad. It keeps you from dying. However, that mattered more probably before he got the shield added into his kit. They reworked this guy like 10 times, I swear to God. But yeah, I wouldn't. With the attack speed though, Chaotic Infamy would be interesting. Chaotic Infamy could be interesting with the attack speed on here. Yeah, I actually really used to like also using Concentration of Firepower, because when this skill ran out, it was basically right back 1 second later because of Concentration of Firepower. And you need to constantly be cycling that skill. He doesn't do enough damage though, I don't think, with that first skill to warrant using Chaotic. So probably not. I think this is still just his best set for the most part. Like, there's some variation, but for the most part, it's that. For the light shot, kind of funny. You can do something like this, but Chaotic Infamy all the way, because she spams skills. It's in similar. She's quite literally Amamiya 1.0. Quite literally Amamiya 1.0. So there you go. Since she spams the skills, it just makes no sense. Breaker, so see 10 other breakers, same deal, doesn't really change anything. For him, the only thing you need to know about him, it's the same as all the other DPS characters. I noticed I stopped talking about their primary stats that they need. It's extremely straightforward, but for him, avoid anything crit because he can't crit. So there you go. Just if it says crit in the effect or the artifact stat, you need a new effect set or you need a new artifact piece because it's worthless. He's an attack scaler, so he's got a couple other things that work for him, but like expert, just useless. Like there's no point. So yeah, keep that in mind. Champion and field, I don't think also works on him. So 8-piece curse works, 4/4 works, 1-hit kill. Actually, low-key 4-piece 1-hit kill is pretty solid on him. Infamy is one that I was testing on him, not for any reason in particular, just to see if it would work, and it's kind of whatever, which is expected. However, Infamy 8-piece is solid though, I would say, because the ultimate skill damage going up, and he's not really usable, I don't think, until he gets full dupes and full dupes in his weapon. I think that's the only time he really becomes usable because the ultimate spamming. Speaking of ultimate spam, yeah, I think 1-hit kill 4-piece is probably still his best set. You know what you do? You do 1-hit kill 4-piece, and then in short content, you do Obsidian right side, and you do Curse in long content right side. There you go. All right, Alicia. So she is the artifact set was quite literally made with her in mind. The one we read earlier for the core attacks. Oh man, I haven't seen toughness in so long. Is there any use for it? 8% crit rate is not bad, but there's just not really any reason to put that on. But solid foundation, it's ironically not recommending it, but solid foundation, this one was quite literally made for her. Increases the user's basic attack damage, fine, but the core attack damage increasing by 18% and then charging the core gauge quite literally was made for her. So does that mean you should still use it? I don't think so. Can you use it on the left side if you want to? Sure. However, she's not a character you should be investing in. So there's that. That's the caveat. She's not a character you should be investing in at all whatsoever. She's got such a wonky playstyle that I think you can do multiple things on her. Chaotic, I don't think works great on her. I don't think she spams her skills enough to really make the most out of that. She's just power crept at this point. I mean, she's also she's extremely power crept to the point where she's got skills that have like one line in the sentence. She's just too old. I miss when characters were this straightforward, for the record. I miss when they were, I mean, look at the new water DPS replacing her. How could she not get replaced when they've got paragraph on paragraph on paragraph? I mean, I miss when characters were that straightforward. So anyway, yeah, I don't really think there's any reason you should be investing in her at all. So I'm mostly going to just kind of blitz past her. But if you happen to use her, then sure. 8-piece curse and longer content, 4-piece curse, 4-piece obsidian, or 2-piece solid foundation, something like that, I think, overall. So moving on from that, we're going to go ahead and talk about Woo Jinchul, Breaker, same deal. You guys have seen enough breakers. Park Heejin's a little bit weird because she's kind of like a support character-ish. So she's like a one-of-a-kind type character, similar. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe her, but this is what I like to use on her overall. Lee Bora. She's a DPS that basically only gets used for support. You can put on DPS-based gear on her, but I don't use her whatsoever for anything like that. So if you're looking for something like that, I would go 8-piece curse or 4-piece curse with 4-piece Sylph on the right side, something like that, to give her dual usability. She's mainly a support character because of the charm and circle and stuff she does, but I don't really have much use for Lee Bora, honestly. It's not that she ever was bad, I just never really had a ton of use for her. Breaker, same deal. Breaker, same deal. Breaker, I gotta say it again, same deal. It doesn't matter, like, for these characters. And I'm not really gonna elaborate too much on like which one I think is better between these sets and these characters, because it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. However, I will say, okay, I think this is better. I think Greed is better on her because she spams her skills. That's all I'll really say. Support character, same deal. It really honestly doesn't matter on supports, especially. DPS character, I was experimenting once upon a time with him with Curse. You could use that. He's got he's a defense scaler. Oh, I totally forgot about him, didn't I? He's one of 4, my bad. One of 4 defense DPS. He's so far down the list I forgot bro existed. So yeah, Iron Will on him I think may work. He spams his skill. So no, you know what it is actually? It's chaotic. It's chaotic infamy. It's chaotic infamy. There you go. We have Limb, Breaker, see the other ones. I don't really have to explain them. Shimizu, same deal, see all the other supports. And these SRs, based on their role, that's what they're gonna be. The only SRs you really would use anyway is just either Park Heejin or the other breakers in here for the most part. Otherwise, you're not really touching the other characters. So the last one here is Ana Ruiz, an original character that's an SR that nobody ever thinks about or talks about or sees or anything. She's just buried in the bottom. So Ana Ruiz scales off attack. She's a damage-based attack character. So take from that what you will. Or actually, she's a breaker. My bad. I thought she was an attack character. So yeah, never mind. No reason to talk about her much. All right, guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I realized that I wanted to elaborate a bit more, but I was like, you know what? This is gonna take way too long if I don't. So make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe. Also, we've got all these codes, and make sure you do support through the link down below in the description to get some of these codes. We've got so many awesome things, Essence Stones, a bunch of other things. And to trigger this last one, I want to let you guys know that you have the anniversary check-in event on the web store. So make sure you go over to the web store and claim your daily reward. You could get some big drops. Apparently, I'm not logged in for some reason. You could get some big drops, so make sure you're doing that. And there's also some awesome deals and bundles for purchase on the web store. That's my requirement for that slot 3. So make sure you guys stay tuned because we're going to get another code. So make sure you do support. And if you watch the entirety of the video, quick word for you. I actually genuinely appreciate you. Comment in the chat. I watched it all, and I'll give you a heart. Maybe even pin you if you're the only guy. But thank you. I'll see you all later.